Hello, my name is Ben Groff, and today I will be talking to you about my instructional technology project research. Today's discussion outline of topics. We will start with the project problem, and then we'll roll into the purpose of my research, and then we will talk about the implementation choices that I have selected, and then figure out the one that I will implement into my 4-week process. Then we'll talk about my weaknesses and my strengths of all my implementations in that 4 weeks to figure out my project findings. At the younger grade level, students come into the classroom with no motivation unless there's a screen in front of them. So with that being said, I wanted to find, when using technology, what applications students would enjoy, the playing aspect as well as learning from home or at school. The students what they play now have a lot of influence on how they act socially, which could result in violence, inappropriate behaviors. All of those relate to how they interact with others in the classroom, so I really want to find a solution or find applications that will help solve this problem. Throughout my research, I found 4 different reoccurring themes that I wanted to incorporate into my project, and those 4 learning themes were screen time, effective learning, behaviors, and interaction with others. So you're probably wondering what the purpose is of this project. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction of what this is about. First of all, I want to limit the technology use. I really want to limit the screen time, and I really want to increase that social interaction and the behaviors of my students. So when students start to enter grade school, they actually have already been introduced to the technology field. Technology is always evolving, but it's not the way we let it evolve that influences how we interact with technology. Educators actually witness younger students entering the classroom with little to no motivation to learn unless it involves some sort of technology that is placed in front of them. Research actually showed that students are used to having a screen in front of their face most of the day, but when they come to school, that's not what we try to implement. We don't want them playing games and only wanting to play games. We're there to learn. Technology has an impact on the quality of learning and the teachings and determines how successful the students may be. Technology is an important asset to our learning instruction today, but it's also important for the students to have a variety of instruction to differentiate their learning. One of the quotes that I found was from Daugherty. The American Academy of Pediatrics stated that anyone 2 years old or older should be limited to that screen time of 2 hours per day, and anyone younger than that should have no screen time. Teachers should allow their students 20 to 30 minutes of technology throughout the day. So looking back at this quote, the reason I chose to share this quote with you guys was because I don't know how many times I've been out and about and I've seen a parent put a phone or a tablet or some sort of technology device in front of their child's face to stop them from crying. And then when it's taken away, they just cry again. They're doing this continuously that these kids are becoming addicted to it, and so they get it whenever they want. We are now moving into our implementation choices. The first choice that I wanted to kind of look at and see if this is the way I wanted to go about it was that many students are addicted to having that screen time. Therefore, I believe that we should limit that screen time for the students and instead make it more of a reward for them to learn off of. Stated in Daugherty, it's actually developmentally appropriate for these students to learn off of technology because it's just our 21st century. That's how we learn today. Technology is becoming the center point in today's world, so finding the appropriate use for the technology is actually important for our younger generation. With the amount of screen time children and students get at home, it is important to find the appropriate use of technology to help that younger generation use technology correctly, effectively, and appropriately. Also found in McDaniel, parents have a huge impact on their child and their technology usage in a day. When parents become centered around their technology, it actually limits the social interaction with their children. Going into choice number 2, to make an educational instruction effective, I will have my students complete work to submit it through an application called Seesaw. To make my educational instruction effective, I will have my students complete that work, and the students would use this technology in their educational pathways at some point in school, and they should be literate in the technology fields because it's continuously developing. Since COVID, teachers had to adapt to a new learning style that's called virtual learning instruction, and those tools to assist students to keep them students learning. Today, our technology has made a huge impact on our students and now becomes a center focus for our teaching instruction today. As a new teacher, incorporating technology into my classroom has actually been quite a struggle. Most people don't understand what it takes to train these students on technology and when a certain application is used for learning. Working with the Seesaw application is an effective learning strategy to formatively assess my students and the content being covered. Seesaw is a technology platform that helps students engagement and also assessment that the students know while they are learning visually with photos, videos, drawings, text, and links. And the best part about this is the links actually are different from just going to YouTube because it skips all of the ads so the students just visually see that video. And finally, the implementation choice number 3 that I've selected was having my students interact with other students to show how it is important to teach social interaction skills with others and why it's an important skill to teach in our classroom today. I actually learned that children are impacted by what they see and what they hear. I believe this all starts from in the home. If the parents are always surrounded by that technology, they may have inappropriate behaviors or manners towards their own children. And this may result in the children's behavior at school and will cause controversy between the interactions with their students, other students, and even teachers or other adults in the building. I learned there are a lot of social skills that come with the 21st century technology, and some of those skills may include problem solving, communication, innovation, and even social skills. It is important to recognize that the use of that technology as we are becoming more centered around the instructional and effective learning. I will actually be implementing the technology that is without a screen. It's a little robot, and these are called B-bots. So what this B-bot does is it has 4 arrows on the back of this B that the students get to program to find a path to a certain answer. When the students work together and collaborate, this will increase their social interaction skills with each other as well as the teacher, as they have to collaborate with each other to help find the answer. And so, yeah, those relationships are going to be socially interactive and hopefully be increased. I am actually choosing this implementation choice because I do think that students see a lot of screen time at home as well as in school, and those B-bots are a way to get the students more hands-on learning opportunities while also enhancing their social skills with classmates. So those B-bots are a great instructional tool to teach the students the fundamentals of critical thinking. These B-bots allow the students to explore, create, and problem solve to gain knowledge of their understanding and also grow deeper in the content. This problem will work better than the other 2 implementation choices that I have previously stated because it keeps the students out of screen time. The B-bots can take place in small groups while other students are working on other things, which helps give a variety of differentiation in the learning. Hands-on activities can also grab the students' attention to help them retain knowledge and grow. In a research project I did for a class in undergraduate school, I also learned that hands-on activities actually help the growth of both sides of the brain. I think that implementing B-bots into my own classroom can benefit my students very greatly. Moving into my implementation weeks. Week 1, it took quite a bit of learning in the first couple of days of how to use the B-bots, how to instructionally learn what they were, and how to program them. So that took a little bit of the time, which was probably one of my weaknesses, is a lot of that instructional time was being lost when they could have been learning. But it happens, and that's just what happens when you implement new technology in the classroom. Not all your students know, and especially with these B-bots, it's new to all of my students as none of them have learned it before. Towards the end, we actually implemented letters into the last couple days of the week. We did letter recognition, and our students need to know 54 letters, both uppercase and lowercase, and 2 special letters, A and G. And we also did this in small groups because I only had 6 B-bots to go off of. So I actually took data from a FastBridge website that we use in our school district, and it just helps with progress monitoring. So I'm going to show you some of the results that I gathered. So this is a student. This is where the student should be, and it actually shows the data that the students have progressed. Has made a big increasement over that line. It shows where the student should be at and how that dotted line is where they were at. So they've actually already passed where they're supposed to be at and has excelled past that line. So that's good data to see. This next student has definitely made progress. Hasn't made it to where we want them to be yet, but obviously some students are going to be like that, but it is important that they're making progress, and that's what that data shows. In this data, it also shows different letters. It shows over here on the right or the left, the right side if you're looking at it, or the left side if you're looking at it, the dates that they were tested, and then it shows the letters that they are missing and not getting accurately every time. So that's pretty cool to see, so we can understand what supports each student needs. Week 2, pretty much the same thing. Towards the beginning of the week, I had to implement how to do run those BBots, but towards the end of the week, we actually implemented it towards science, and the students understood that it wasn't the technology that was changing, but the content itself. And so they got different pictures. We were learning about weather, so they got to see sunny, cloudy, and all those things. And we actually implemented it with our reading and those letter sounds. So if it was sunny, they had to find the sun, S, letter sounds, and they recognized that. So also implementing that reading and the letter sounds kind of goes with everything. So we were able to work with those letter sounds throughout every content area that we use this with. Oops, go back 1 second. You can just see that fast data, again, this student is really excelling, and they did proceed where they need to be. And if we just keep implementing this, they're obviously going to be excelled for where they need to be. Week 3 implementation, I actually took different summative assessments from this quarter 1. And these steps, we went back to just the reading areas, so just the letter recognition. And so you can see over on this right side, advanced is a level 6. You can tell in the first one that was tested, not a lot of students actually, a level 4 is proficient, so that's what they need to be. But you can tell that there was only two of those students that made that. And over on the other side, right next to it, you can see that I retested them and a lot of my students had gone up. So really like to see that increased amount go up and where my students need to be. In week 4 implementation, my results from Seesaw activities. So in the next couple slides, I'll kind of show you what the activities were, but we implemented this into math and to reading. So you can see on this little chart, 50% or less got that, didn't really get it, kind of need more support than the others, obviously. 79 to 51% was 9.5% of my students. So they're kind of right below average, I would say. They're getting it, but sometimes they're on the edge. They're back and forth. And then 80% or higher, I had 85.7% of my students get that, so they're constantly getting it through and improving. So these are just a couple of my Seesaw slides. So this is letter sound specifically. My students had to take these clothespins and they used the dragging tool, so they would drag the clothespin to the letter sound that matched the picture. So you could see A, apple, B, bee, E, elephant, flowers, and so on. During my project findings, I had 3 different things that I really wanted to look at. So looking at the first one, technology and achievement, during this finding, I found that my students' achievement had grown significantly higher, and that technology as a tool in the primary classroom has become a huge part in the classroom today. I also learned that having a variety of that learning styles in my classroom is important for the students to learn by. And so by utilizing that technology, it is actually increasing the students' achievement, and you saw that through the data. Looking at the second one, another finding was the level of engagement and participation was from my students. And there were times where they would simply get distracted from the learning because they were bored or their mind was somewhere else. So implementing this technology actually helped them physically have hands-on, and in that process, they were more engaged. And so it's important for them to find the appropriate use of this technology to help the younger generation use technology correctly, effectively, and appropriately, and the BBots did just that. The last finding was the social interaction that the students had with each other and me while implementing this technology. And so some of those skills may include problem solving, communication, and innovation, and that communication between the students help create the social interaction between each other. It also helps the students feel more comfortable with each other, which helps them stay motivated and engaged in the content longer. Going forward, I actually want to continue implementing this into my classroom just because I did see so much progress through my students. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Again, my name is Bryn Groff, and I was your instructional technology lecture team today. So thank you.